If you're a cat owner, you definitely know this feeling. You're standing in the pet food aisle, just staring at this wall of bags and cans. It is completely overwhelming, right? And it feels like you're making this super high-stakes decision for your little furry family member. You see all these buzzwords staring back at you, but what do they even mean? Well, today, we're going to cut right through all that marketing noise. We're going to break down the facts, bust the biggest myths, and give you a totally new way to think about choosing the best food for your cat, all based on what veterinary experts have to say. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the very first choice we all have to make is the most basic one: dry kibble or wet canned food. It might seem like it's just about what your cat prefers, but the nutritional differences between them are actually massive.
And while the difference is pretty huge when you look at it side by side, wet food is amazing for hydration. I mean, with that much moisture, your cat is basically getting most of its water just from eating. It's also super low in carbs, which is a big deal for keeping them at a healthy weight. Now, dry food, it's convenient, it's usually cheaper, sure, but it's loaded with carbs. We're talking around 40%, and that can really contribute to weight gain over time.
And listen, this is a really critical point about dry food. The second you slice open that bag, the fats in the kibble start to oxidize. They start to go rancid. Feeding your cat kibble that's been sitting out is kind of like you cooking your own dinner with old, spoiled oil. It can lead to some serious health problems down the line. So here's a simple rule. Always store it in an airtight container and pop it in the fridge.
All right, let's talk about the labels, because this is where most of us just get completely lost. It turns out a lot of the words we've been taught to look for as signs of quality are really just clever marketing. This is probably the #1 myth. We're all trained to look at the bag and hunt for that high protein number, thinking that, more is obviously better. But is that really true?
Well, it turns out not really. The most important thing isn't the percentage, it's the source of that protein. See, cats are carnivores. Their bodies are designed to absorb protein from animal sources way more efficiently than from plant sources like corn or soy. So a food with 30% high-quality animal-based protein is actually way more nutritious than some other food that's bragging about 45% plant-based protein.
In fact, get this, according to the official AFCO guidelines, and they're the ones who set the standards for pet food, an adult cat only needs a minimum of 26% protein to be perfectly healthy. So chasing those crazy high numbers is not only unnecessary, it can actually put a strain on your cat's kidneys over their lifetime. Okay, so what about all those other fancy words? The ones that just sound so good. Organic, premium, human grade. Surely those have to mean it's better food, right? Well, let's see what the experts have to say about that. This might actually be a shocker, but there is no official government body that certifies pet food as organic. A company could literally toss a single organic pea into a giant vat of food and then legally slap an organic label on the bag. It's almost entirely a marketing term designed to make you feel good about buying it. And you know that food grade pyramid you see all over the internet? The one that goes from premium up to human grade? That wasn't created by the FDA or any official agency. It was made up by pet owners online. Food companies just saw how popular it was and started slapping those exact terms onto their own bags. They basically took a user-generated guide and turned it into a powerful sales tool. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to do a quick rapid-fire round now and bust a few more common myths that cause a ton of confusion for cat owners. First up, meat meal. I know, it sounds kind of gross, but it's actually a fantastic ingredient. All it is fresh meat and nutrient-rich organs that have been cooked down to remove the water. What you're left with is a super concentrated, high-quality protein powder. It is absolutely not a cheap, low-quality filler. Next up, grain-free. Here's the big one. Grain-free does not mean carb-free. The companies just swap out grains like corn for other starchy things like potatoes, peas, or tapioca. And here's the real kicker. True grain allergies in cats are incredibly rare. It's way, way more common for them to be allergic to an animal protein, like beef or fish. And finally, antioxidants. Some people hear that word and think scary chemicals, but they actually play a vital role. They're what stop the fats in the food from going bad and becoming toxic. So a regulated, shelf-stable food with antioxidants is often a much safer choice than one without them. Okay. So, if we can't trust the labels, we can't trust the protein percentage, and we can't really trust the ingredient list, what in the world are we supposed to do? Well, don't worry, there is a much simpler and much more reliable way to think about all of this.
This right here is the key. We need to completely reframe the question. The most important thing to ask isn't about one specific ingredient. It's about the company that actually made the food. It's about their history, their research, and their quality control.
This is the perfect analogy. I mean, think about it. When you go to buy a new phone, you don't analyze every single tiny component inside of it. You trust a brand, like Apple or Samsung, because they have a long, proven track record. The principle for choosing pet food is exactly the same.
So what does a trustworthy brand even look like? Well, first, they have a long history. We're talking decades. Second, and this is huge, they own their own factories. Believe it or not, fewer than 10 pet food companies in the entire world actually do this. Third, they do their own research and development. And finally, they have a long, proven history of safely feeding millions and millions of pets. Now, on the flip side, you really need to be wary of these so-called container foods. These are those trendy brands that just pop up out of nowhere online with super flashy marketing. They're usually made in some outsourced factory, imported in small batches, and then after a year or two, the company just vanishes, only to be replaced by the next hot new thing. Their claims are almost impossible to verify, and who knows what their quality control is like. So, after all of that, what's the single most important lesson to walk away with today? It's this. Brand reputation and a long history of scientific research matter so much more than any marketing buzzword on a pretty label. That kind of boring-looking bag from a company that's been around for 50 years is almost always a safer and more reliable choice than the fancy new bag with exotic ingredients. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to find some mythical, perfect food. It's to find a safe, reliable one that will keep your cat happy and healthy for years to come. So the next time you're standing in front of that wall of choices, what are you going to do? Are you going to chase the latest trend, or are you going to trust the science that has kept cats safe for generations?